Hello everyone, this is your old friend Comet Urban with a little bit of an explanation video here. I was actually doing my video on my review on the book RMS Lusitania, when he basically explains in his video how he believes the ship was sunk. And basically what he says is that, you know, when the Lusitania was torpedoed off Ireland, her coal bunkers were almost empty. The explosion kicked up large amounts of coal dust that blanketed the bottom of the bunkers, and that the torpedo ignited, tearing open the side of the ship for the length of one of the starboard bunkers. The ship's magazine remained undamaged. Coal scattered all over the bottom of the sea was one of the clues that led us to believe that the second explosion was caused by ignited coal dust. Well, you know, for a while, I actually I believed, it's fucking hot. Well, you know, for years too, I believed that shit to be true too, until recently I was watching something, and it made a pretty good point. They made a pretty good point, because think about it, for coal dust explosion to happen, it had to be dry. The coal dust had to be dry and stuff. But if you really think about it, I'll explain with the model Lusitania here I've been working on. On the outside of the hull of the ship, there's water, cold water. And on the inside of the ship, it was hot as hell, especially down in that area of the ship, the boiler rooms, and also going into the coal bunkers. It'd be hot as hell because of the extreme heat. Now you got the extreme heat on the inside of the hull, you got the extreme cold of the water on the outside of the hull, and what's that going to, these two things come together, and on the inside of the hull, you're going to have condensation. Now, this condensation would have, you know, ripped down the sides of the inside of the hull of the ship down in this area, and it would have created pools of condensation on the floors of the coal bunkers. So, henceforth, the coal dust would have been dampened down by this condensation, and when the torpedo would have hit, it wouldn't have been able to kick it up and make it explode, because the coal dust would have been damped because of the condensation from the extreme heat on the inside of the ship and the extreme cold of the water on the outside. So if that's the case, then people think, but Commodore, if that's the case, then, and if Robert Ballard was, you know, if he didn't know what the hell he's talking about, then what's the case? Well, I'll explain to you exactly what I think it was. I believe, you know, I believe it really was something to do with the boilers that exploded, not the boiler itself, but the main steam line. Because you see, if you look at a general overview of the design of the boiler rooms of the Lusitania, like if you look at the souvenir issue of the Lusitania, souvenir issue of Engineering Magazine, which is a facsimile, which is called the Quadruple Screw Express Turbine Cunard Liner Lusitania, which I've done a review of it. It shows a map of the boiler rooms, and above each boiler there's branch pipes that for the steam to go into, and they go into one main pipe, which then gets split off into 4 pipes for the turbines. Now, when the torpedo hit on Lusitania, was roughly about right here. This is about roughly in the area where the torpedo struck the Lusitania. And yes, there's a coal bunker here, but there's also was boiler room number 1. I believe it was boiler room number 1, or it might have been boiler room. Yeah, boiler room, because number 1, 2, 3, and 4. Boiler room number 1, which is right here. And when it hit, I believe when that torpedo detonated into that area, it actually had caused the malfunction of the steam pipe, or something to do with the steam pipe. You know, it ruptured the steam pipe. You know, it took some time for it to, you know, to disembowel itself. But once it did, that's what the secondary explosion was. It was that steam pipe exploding. Sorry, it's just my dog. I believe it was that secondary main steam pipe that exploded. And when it did that, it basically shot all the energy from the steam, shot out up through the ship. And if you've seen in the paintings done by Ken Marshall, and also by reading testimony and witness accounts of that secondary explosion, they said there was a lot of like dirt, dust, debris, and a lot of like a white cloud effect, as you can see here. If you can see that there, I mean, from seeing the painting and from reading the testimony, that's what I've came across to was a steam pipe explosion. And from that is basically your secondary explosion was a steam pipe rupture, because right after that they lost power to the telemotor. They lost power, to the steering of the ship. They couldn't get her. They couldn't steer her. They couldn't stop the turbines. They didn't have no electricity. Electricity went out. Everything just kind of went dead like that right after that secondary explosion. And that's what I believe too, because when Captain Turner ordered the Lusitania to be turned, she stayed on her course and went down, down, down. It's because she lost power. She lost power. She lost steam, because the secondary explosion was a steam line rupture, and it blew out through the top of the ship. Because you had the vents, the stokehold vents and stuff that led up to the top of the ship, and all that energy just shot through and blew everything out of his way and through the path. So that's truly what I believe what happened to the Lusitania. And a lot of people argue is that, was it the secondary explosion that caused the sinking? No, it hastened the sinking, but what caused the sinking itself? Everyone always looks this over because they're always talking about, oh, that's secondary explosion. The secondary explosion was the reason why the Lusitania sank. No, the reason why she sank was because of this. The fucking torpedo. You gotta remember, people, she was torpedoed. Captain Walter Schwieger gave off a perfectly good shot. With one G-type torpedo, he sent a torpedo right into the part of the ship here, which was basically a weak part in the ship if you look at her design. That basically could be an Achilles heel on the Lusitania's design. It blew up. This 300-pound warhead on the end torpedo blew up, made a giant hole in the side of the ship. And then when the steam line basically blew out, it basically blew out the hole even bigger, causing seams and rivets and stuff to pop, and seams to pop probably further up front and further to the back, leaking in water. And so now the Lusitania's taking on more water, and probably two people had portholes and stuff open too. And when she started going under, portholes and stuff started filling in with water, and so she's being dragged under. And as she was being dragged under, her nose hits the bottom of the seabed, and because she's longer than where she's, where the water is, she basically kind of settles down like this and disappears and then lands on her side. And when she does, she bends her nose up, and in the middle of her hull here, right in this area of the hull here, it cracks in half, and she basically sits kind of like in a boomerang shape, where the bow is bent this direction and the stern bend off that way. So, and that's basically it. I mean, the secondary explosion, yes, it did fuck the Lusitania. It did hasten her sinking. But it was the torpedo. If the torpedo never was fired, and if the torpedo never hit the Lusitania, there'd be no fucking secondary explosion. So, who's the culprit here? Who's to blame? The Germans. So just remember that, guys, about when you guys get into this contradictory shit about what is to blame. Is it the first explosion, the second explosion that killed the Lusitania? It was the torpedo. Nonetheless, the torpedo did it and did what it was supposed to, and over 1,000 lives were lost. So I hope you enjoy my explanation of the sinking of the Lusitania, and I hope you take it into mind and also think about it a little bit. And if you have any questions or comments, please leave them in the comment section down below. I'd love to hear from you. If you love the video, hit the like button. And if you like what I do, please subscribe. Until next time, this is your old friend Commodore Urban saying, have smooth seas and clear skies, and happy sailing with you.